Check, check. 1 2 1 2. What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's poppin'? How's everybody doing? Tatter, what's poppin'? Good to see you again. Let's see. Scorply, what's poppin'? Regress, what's poppin'? Mark, how's it going? Deny, nothing much, you know. Another day back on the grind. Another day, more art designs. I'm almost done with the one that I started last time. I was playing around with face expressions. I just have to move my stuff over into the proper screen. And we should be good to go. Oh yeah, I need to open up the Ugin backstory. Not Ugin. Nicobolus. How you doing though? What's popping with you? Get some food in your system. Also, you can rest up too. I want to make sure I select the right one for this. Alright, I'm pausing the audio. That's fair. What time do you work? It's always my camera. It's always my camera when that doesn't want to like automatically pick up. All right. Tonight's goal is to get a new 10 to 4. Sheesh. Plus, Destiny 2 Final Shape is out, and I didn't know if two of my friends wanted to play it or wait. That's the reason why one of the people I follow was playing Destiny last night. Today was 8 to 4. Oh, they're giving you real shifts. Actually, 10 to 4, they shrunk. I guess you get to sleep in a little bit, maybe. Servers are crazy full. I believe you. I believe you. Because one of the people I follow who usually they do art was actually he was streaming today or streaming yesterday Destiny. He probably is streaming today too. Let's see. Nope, he's back at doing art. Yeah, he's back doing art. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna shift this over. Let me see if this plays out.
The elder dragon Nicol Bolas, like most.
Yeah, there we go. Probably after this set of lore, I'm gonna play music when we're live. Unless y'all like Magic the Gathering story time, then yeah. 40 gigabyte update? Everyone has been waiting on this campaign and they pushed it back. That makes sense. Let's do this intro. Hey, how's it going? I'm Mario Hero, and I turn your favorite characters into spray cans. What's poppin', Cry? How you doing? Uh, if you been here before, of course you know that. If you haven't been here before, now you do. Welcome in everybody to another Magic the Gathering lore stream, and today I'll be trying to wrap up the Jace design a little bit, probably do some shadow work. You can see I drew a face that doesn't really meet, it doesn't really match it. You know, I was in the mood of making like cocky looking characters, and Jace, although with his backstory, can be very cocky in the manner of thinking that he is that guy and getting proven wrong time and time again. It doesn't work. Um, but yeah, I'll be working on that, and we're going to be listening to the other side of the story. Yesterday we listened to Ugin's lore. Today we'll be listening to his brother Nicobolas, the narcissist of the Magic the Gathering community. And when I say it, I mean textbook. Like we talked about how this guy literally was so mad that he plane shift himself. Let me check out the chat, and then we'll get it started. Uh, 40 was after the release. It took 25 hours for the server to be down. Dang. I was about to say, is he that guy though? Nah, Jace is not that guy. Um, and when we actually get there, like there's so much lore that we would have to listen to. I'm giving you guys, so there's a complete version of the lore of Magic the Gathering up until now, and then there's like another aspect of it. Uh, Still have no idea about MTG. I'm a D&D person. I mean, I get that. So this is the reason why, like, so I know most people probably don't know about the background of Magic the Gathering, and that's the reason why, like, when I started making the characters, I'm like, let's go ahead and put some lore into the background while I draw. So it's like a little story time. We get like an hour of lore of Magic the Gathering, and I'm just pretty much giving you like the backstory before things go haywire. I do miss my text to speech. Hmm.
Tatterhot Wolf. Plus Destiny 2 final shape is out and I didn't know if two of my friends wanting to play it or wait.
Dang, it just paused it.
Tatterhot Wolf.
Oh man, it's just about to read
I
through
work at
all of
10
it.
to 4.
All right, never mind. I was gonna have it read. Yeah, it's starting all the way from the last point. I guess I just paused it and not muted. So, all right, I'll just be reading. What's up, Rodriguez? Let's pop in. So I'm gonna get this lore started, and not surprised that Nicol Bolas, his lore is 30 minutes over uh what was going on with Ugin. But of course, the bad baddie has to have like a lot of stuff in his story. So let's get it started so that everybody can hear what's going on.
Most of his kind is a physically domineering creature. With a sinuous body that stands over 60 feet tall and a wingspan twice that. Bolas's most characteristic features are his golden scales covering most of his body, and his twinned curved horns above his head, between which sits the spirit gem. His lean body and long, slender legs give him an almost serpent-like appearance that during flight leaves him a far cry away from the graceful elegance of other dragons. With enormous size and strength, his physical capabilities are remarkable, but even they pale in comparison to his magical prowess. Nicol Bolas has power over red, blue, and black mana, and over millennia of study, practice, and contemplation has come to master all three. His corrosive breath and withering magic highlight his skill in black mana, while his often reckless emotion and arrogant rage are hallmark of his red alignment.
Is the
Nicol is,
volume
however,
low?
best known for his overwhelming
Here, I'll crank it up
intellect
for you.
and peerless mastery over all
How's
aspects
that?
of blue mana. His control magic and mental assaults have been on display countless times in both storylines and cards, but his sheer intelligence is perhaps his most valuable asset. With tens of thousands of years of experience and learning behind him, Bolas is best known for his scheming and pontification.
Is the volume better at this
His
level, or
plans
do I need to crank it
span
up more?
centuries, and
Oh,
he has
good. Nice.
failsafes in place for even his failsafes twice over.
No
He
problem.
is a master at predicting others' behaviors. He foresees and plans for nearly every eventuality in his all-consuming quest for glory. No matter how magnificent and destructive Nicol Bolas's powers are, they are overshadowed and at the whims of his character personality. Nicol's strengths come from his alignment towards blue, black, and red mana, but this combination of colors also brings to light his weaknesses and flaws. Chief among them are the Elder Dragon's immeasurable arrogance and self-assuredness. With 1,000 lifetimes to gather knowledge and master the ways of the multiverse, Bolas has had millennia to grow his ego. Since even his first flight on Dominaria, he has considered himself peerless, the rightful ruler of all planes he can touch, and the supreme power across the blind eternities.
What's up, Zesty Keys? Welcome
He
to the channel.
considers only himself and his benefit in all aspects of life. Nicol Bolas is also prone to succumb to the reckless rage and passion traditionally found in red-aligned creatures.
So, because you can't see this, uh, these cards, there's cards and they're like called schemes, and the names of these cards should give you at least a little bit of thought of like more of who this guy is. One of them, it says, because I have willed it, like, and the other card says, behold my grandeur, and he's just standing like this, like he's a cocky dragon too.
Despite the layers
Like,
of plans and schemes, the reliance on logic and reason that is at the heart of his blue mana side, Nicol is occasionally at the whims of his anger, his envy, and his vengeance, foregoing the path of cold calculation to bring forth vindictive judgment on those that have wronged him. The final characteristic that separates Nicol Bolas is his innate skill, often referred to as his touch. His capability to corrode, corrupt, and shatter the mind or will of any victim with the slightest mental caress. Embodying the blue and black aspects of his color alignment, Bolas has effectively used his touch throughout his lifetime to utterly defeat even planeswalkers of old. To fully appreciate Nicol's character and gain insight into the Elder Dragon's motives, desires, and personality, we must step back into history nearly 30,000 years, to the time of his birth and upbringing. The nascent Dominaria was a young, incomplete plane just taking shape when the primordial force known as the Ur-Dragon swept across its surface. The Ur-Dragon is an avatar that spans the multiverse, residing within and between the very fabric of the Blind Eternities. It represents the force of all dragonkind across the planes. A force whose wings spread across eternity, whose presence stirs the cosmos, whose claws tear through the ether, and whose eyes penetrate through the wells of the Blind Eternities to see the deepest truths of the multiverse. It is the progenitor of every dragon that has ever existed, and in roughly negative 25,000 AR, it descended upon Dominaria, hungry to populate the early plane with its brood. This is where Nicol Bolas'
Right?
story
Narcissist
begins.
to the fullest.
As the Ur-Dragon beat its wings, its cosmic eggs fell from the heavens and streaked across the sky, like brilliant meteors. Within these eggs were the first dragons to touch the surface of Dominaria.
So like this is just like a
beings that would
recap
later
of
be
what
known
happened
as
with
the
Ugin.
Elder Dragons. These dragons had many traits and abilities that set them apart from others of their kind across the multiverse. Chief among them, a self-awareness, a consciousness of themselves and their surroundings that was present since their birth. As the Elder Dragons fell from the sky, they hatched from their eggs knowing their inner beings, and each decided to name themselves, their first victory on the primordial and dangerous plane. The first falls and names himself Arcades Sabbath. As he unfurls his wings, the second dragon descends, taking the name Chromium Rule. A third, and largest of them, claims the name Palladia Mors, and she is filled with a deep desire to hunt.
It's
As the
interesting
younglings
that
take
they
in their
all named
surroundings,
themselves.
Chromium witnesses two smaller eggs fall from the sky. The last of them to leave the Ur-Dragon's wings was quite an oddity. It was smaller than its counterparts, its shell perhaps thinner and weaker, and from it hatched not one, but two Elder Dragons. The last, the smallest, and the weakest of their kind. These twins shared an egg, and now they would share a name. Rather than claiming two names for themselves, the likes of Palladia Mors, they each named another, and taking only one. These twins named each other Ugin and Nicol. In their first moments of life, as their still soft scales dry in the brilliant sun, Ugin and Nicol are witness to atrocity as one of their siblings, Marivia Sol, is attacked by a band of primitive hunters and pack dogs. The twins are stuck where they fell, trapped between rocks and branches. They can do nothing to help their sister until they break free. Their struggle is ultimately futile as Sol is speared once, twice, 3 times over. She burns several and flays others, but the hunters and dogs are too numerous, and in moments, Sol's lifeblood soaks the ground. Nicol is caught in a blind fury, a rage to avenge his sister. How dare these tiny creatures attack a dragon? But his rash reactions are countered by Ugin's calm reason. They are still young and small. They cannot hope to defeat the hunters alone, and so they take flight and leave their sister. This shocking attack molds Nicol's future thoughts and actions, planting a seed within his mind of supremacy, of hatred, and of vengeance. He differs drastically from his brother Ugin, who seeks to learn, to understand, and to question the deepest truths of their new world. Nicol looks to the sky and sees the sun, a brilliant ball of golden light that shines brighter than all else and has no equal. For the rest of his days, Nicol will liken himself to a second sun, his golden scales marking his greatness. For the next few thousand years, the twins Ugin and Nicol travel across the vast lands of Dominaria, crossing paths with many of their siblings and cousins, always being ridiculed for their lack of 2 names and their small stature. Anger and envy festered within Nicol as he tried desperately to prove to the other dragons that he was great. The still young twins grew inseparable on their journeys, learning to hunt in tandem and discovering ways to complement each other, covering their innate weaknesses. Eventually, Ugin and Nicol came across a strange sight, a human settlement organized and peaceful, ruled by a dragon. Their eldest sibling, Arcades Sabbath, has instated himself as ruler of a kingdom. At this point in time, Nicol assumes the name Nicol Bolas to assert his position as an elder. But more than Ugin and Nickel's titles diverged in the years spent as Arcades guests. While Ugin sought enlightenment and truth, Nickel observed the humans, learning about their squabbles and weaknesses, in hopes of using that knowledge to avenge his sister. Ugin retreated to quiet meditation on the outskirts of the city, learning about other worlds called planes and their vast connectedness through the multiverse from an insightful old woman named Tae Ju-ki. Bolas, meanwhile, plants himself firmly within the society of humans, slowly gathering knowledge and developing his own skills in manipulation. Nickel's innate ability to touch and shatter minds manifests at this time, when without reason, a villager stabs his own brother to death. The man can't remember what or why he had done it, but his bloody hands clutch the murderous blade. He's been manipulated by Bolas himself. Time is hard to determine from an Elder Dragon's perspective, but decades or centuries later, Nickel believes his strength and mental prowess enough to finally avenge Marivia Sol, and so the twins make their way to their birth mountain, only to find that the Dragon Hunter tribes have grown in both population and skill. They've crafted weapons and magic capable of harming the Elders and have slain countless lesser dragons. They are a formidable force for Ugin and Nickel, but Bolas has developed a plan. He uses his touch and mind magic to sow seeds of doubt, resentment, and envy within the leaders of the tribes. To Ugin's dismay, the humans turn on another, all along being pulled by the invisible strings of Bolas. In this Dragon Killer's War, we begin to see the extent of Bolas's intellect as he deftly manipulates the tribes, not only in destroying each other, but into passively submitting to their new exalted ruler, Nicol Bolas. His revenge is finally fulfilled, but this is just the beginning. Bolas has tasted domination, has achieved victory, and has finally felt like more than the least Elder Dragon. The rest of Dominaria is on the horizon waiting for him. Ugin can't believe what his brother has become, that he has only a care for power and ambition. Wanting an ally to stand by his side, Bolas attempts to use his touch to persuade his brother into joining his cause. But with a birth and a soul shared between them, Ugin is resistant to the mind magic. In this moment, he realizes that his sibling never actually cared for him. Ugin was merely a pawn for Bolas to use to achieve his own machinations. The pain of betrayal, the stinging stab of deceit and manipulation, proves too much for Ugin to bear. The emotional shock unlocks something buried deep within him. A spark ignites, and Ugin blinks out of existence, becoming perhaps the first Planeswalker.
So
While his
you kind of get to see like the opposite side because the last one they kind of like brushed over the reason why Ugin like planeswalk and like shifted the story around. Now you get to see like um, Nicol Bolas tried to take over this man's mind with his mind control ability, and his brother was like, "Whoa, I can't believe this," and that was the reason why he planeswalked. And we're gonna see like how this all transpires on the Nicol Bolas, of course.
brother, whom is thought dead, travels the multiverse, Nicol Bolas prepares for war on Dominaria. He assumes the title of Second Son within his kingdom, and uses his human pawns to expand its borders. Bolas himself has also grown in power, gaining physical strength and magical skills. His resentment of being inferior to his Elder Dragon siblings and his ambition spur Nicol to action that shakes the foundations of the young plane. After an attack on his territory by broodlings of the marauding Vevictus Asmati, Bolas learns that his touch works on beings far more powerful than mere humanoids. He uses it first to manipulate Asmati and his clan, then his other siblings and cousins distributed across Dominaria. For even a dragon is prone to the thoughts of greed, hunger, and ambition. These seeds are fertilized and cultivated by the beguiling whispers of Bolas, until the entire plane devolves into a state of catastrophic bloodshed in negative 20,000 AR, known to history as the Elder Dragon War. For 4,000 to 5,000 years, the war rages as dragons and their human civilizations fight tooth and claw, sword and shield, in a blind frenzy spurred by Nicol Bolas. Through cunning machinations and deft tactics, Bolas's kingdom conquers cities, burns fields, and obliterates all opposition until he can claim personal dominion over more than half of all Dominaria. During the conflict, Bolas's twin travels to Tarkir, a plane that he feels deeply connected to, one that touches his very soul. And so he begins forming the desolate landscape into a beautiful plain of growth and wonder. His fate and that of Tarkir's will become inextricably linked in the millennia that follow. Ugin's quest for knowledge and enlightenment
Also, if
bring
you
him to
remember
many
from
planes
the
across the
last time,
multiverse.
Takir was the place where Ugin talked to that one guy. Like when he died, he was just like, "Yo," he wandered for years, possessed a dude, and made him like go mad into the point where he was just like, "I gotta figure out why I keep having these voices in my head." And yeah, this is the place. This is the reason why all it kind of like makes sense of like why Ugin's connection to that space was so heavy.
But he develops a preference for a primordial and malleable realm known as the meditation plane. He often comes to this tranquil place that merges seamlessly with the blind eternities to contemplate the truths of the multiverse for decades at a time. After thousands of years as a sojourner, Ugin feels for his brother, misses his presence, and wonders of his fate. And so, in the final stages of the Elder Dragon War, Ugin returns to Dominaria and witnesses the horror his brother has wrought. Nicol Bolas and his camped armies take to the field against the overwhelmed and defeated forces of Arcades Sabbath, one of the last great leaders to oppose the Second Son. But as they prepare for final victory, Ugin's sudden appearance distracts and confuses Nicol. After all, his brother has been dead for thousands of years. Bolas is pleased to learn his twin is indeed alive and wishes to share his glories and triumphs with Ugin. An arrogant Nicol surveys his dominions with Ugin, but the Planeswalker sees his brother's trophies for what they really are: petty baubles that have cost the lives and lands of thousands. They argue over what it means to rule, to be supreme, and in their battle of words, Ugin reveals his ability to planeswalk, reveals the existence of other worlds, and ridicules Bolas for believing his actions have any significance. Nicol's resentment grows. How could his brother be greater than himself? He demands Ugin teaches him to planeswalk, but his sibling cannot teach what must come natural. Before vanishing once more, Ugin warns his brother of the dangers of self-indulgence and greed. Ugin's words anger Bolas, and his planeswalking creates a burning resentment within the Elder Dragon. An envy that cannot be contained, a hatred that glows white hot, a need to expand his power, to grow stronger than his brother. A spark ignites within Bolas as he too, in roughly negative 17,000 AR, ascends to Planeswalker.
So you see that this dude was so angry, jealous. Like most planeswalkers, when they get their spark, it's all about distress. They're so like put out there. This dude was just angry that his brother was better than him, and it made him angry enough to have the ability to planeswalk. Like out of all the people, like he truly was upset that his brother was like, "Nah, I'm out of here," and he's like, "How could you be better than me? I'm supposed to be this. Check out all this stuff I've done," and then proceeds to gain this ability to go and ruin the rest of the world. And I really want to blame Ugin in this instance for telling his brother there are other dimensions after seeing what his brother did to the dimension that he was already in. Like it doesn't get dumber than that. I'm just saying. Uh, yeah, he was like, "Yo, my brother." He thought his brother was dead. Then he was like, "Oh, he's like it's such a relief. Like, yo, bro, you're not dead. Check out all this cool stuff that I did to these humans. Look at this place." And Ugin's like, "Man, you ruined this place. This place is terrible." And then he was like, "What place did you go to?" And he's like, "Oh, I built an amazing place. It's nice. It's lush. People love me." And he was like, "How can this be? I did all of this, and these people still hate me." And it's like, nah, I'm gonna go and take over what you did. I gotta see it for my own self. So here we go.
No longer confined to the finite space of Dominaria, Bolas sees infinite possibility unfold before him in the dazzling drift of endless planes through the blind eternities. His deeds on his homeworld were, as Ugin said, insignificant in comparison to the grander multiverse. But what once resided outside his reach is now within grasp, and Bolas sees an opportunity to expand his power and knowledge, to explore, manipulate, and rule all of the planes much as he did on Dominaria. After all, is it not his right as the supreme being of the multiverse? Over the next few
Self-given title.
centuries, Bolas and Ugin flit a contrasting dance across the planes. Where Ugin seeks truth, life, and understanding, Bolas seeks personal clout, recognition, and distinguishment. The tales of a winged beast, a god likened to the sun, who brings catastrophe, death, and destruction, percolate through the fables and stories of many civilizations as Bolas whispers to the minds of weaker beings, and they willfully dance to his tune. Many years pass as the twins expand their knowledge, and Bolas's resentment towards Ugin grows. If he is in truth the most supreme being, how can another like him be let to exist in the multiverse? Nickel traces his brother's path until he comes across Ugin in the malleable meditation realm. Bolas catches his twin by surprise and immediately engages him in a bloody, brutal fight of magic, fire, and claw. Their confrontation is described as a wild, pummeling path through the plains. They struggle for days, years, generations. Ugin knows only defense, and so tries to escape from his brother by hiding in various worlds. But Nickel's rage and hatred are too strong, and his persistence wears on Ugin. The Elder Dragon knows he cannot win, but recalls a lesson given by his old friend, Taeju Ki. My essence will continue to exist in other forms. All things end. Sometimes that is not the same as dying. Ugin stops his flight on the meditation realm and awaits his fate. His brother doesn't hesitate. Bolas unleashes a torrent of fire and death that consumes Ugin, killing him. Ugin's body plunges into the crystal clear waters of the meditation realm, and Nicol Bolas roars in victory. He is truly the most powerful being in the multiverse now. Nearby, a peculiar stone takes shape near his brother's body, a gem that Bolas takes as a trophy of his achievement and places it between his horns. Little does he know that this spirit gem carries a shard of Ugin's essence and will play a vital role in the future. Bolas's victory is short-lived, as Ugin's crash sends massive waves of water spreading across the meditation realm. The tumult rocks Bolas and sends him crashing through the realm, through the blind eternities, until he falls on a continent familiar to him, the island of Madara on Dominaria. Back on the meditation realm, Ugin's body is no more, but his essence remains, and slowly, ever so slowly, the waters calm and gather once more in the lake where he fell.
Dude was so jealous he killed his own brother.
Bolas's first test as a planeswalker comes shortly after his fall on Madara, when a demonic Leviathan planeswalker encroaches on his home plane of Dominaria. Not much is known of the creature, but their planeswalker duel lasts a month. The mystical salvos of these extremely powerful creatures reduces the great continent of Madara to a third of its size. Though the Leviathan is great, Bolas emerges victorious when he uses his touch to destroy it. For a year, Bolas feasts on the carcass, absorbing its energy to grow his own significant might.
A year?
All that remains of the
Yo,
creature
that shelf
are
life
its
is
massive
crazy.
husks, and along with the spirit gem obtained from Ugin, they are considered trophies of Nicol Bolas's greatest achievement. These husks are later referred to as the Talon Gates, and first make their appearance in the Planechase set. The Talon Gates appear again in the background on the art of Nicol Bolas the Arisen. Besides increasing the Elder Dragon's strength, their battle has the unforeseen consequence of creating the first temporal rift on Dominaria, a fact that ultimately leads to the time spiral crisis and mending thousands of years in the future. For now, though, Bolas is content to bask in his glory. He doesn't remain on Dominaria for long. He's already subjugated it once, so he goes on to sow discord and unleash wanton destruction on the multiverse, seeking knowledge and obliterating entire planes, often for no other reason than that he can. While Bolas learns the secrets of the multiverse and accrues vaster stores of power, a strange happening unfolds on the meditation plane in the crystal clear lake where Ugin's body fell. The dispersed waters have gathered once more and the lake fills. As it takes on its mirror-like sheen, the image of a dragon appears beneath the surface, in the likeness of Ugin. The process takes years, centuries, millennia, but as the dragon forms, it takes a deep inhalation. The water glistens and pops over the dragon's body, coating its scales completely and giving it form. Ugin's essence emerges from the lake and takes a fresh breath. Not physical, not metaphysical, but something in between. The elder dragon Ugin is reborn as Ugin the Spirit Dragon. He knows not how long it took to waken, but while he recovered, Bolas has most assuredly caused death and destruction. Ugin leaves the meditation plane to find his sibling. There's a large window in Magic's timeline where word of the twin Elder Dragon Planeswalkers is not heard. This is due in part to the events that occur on Dominaria while they're traveling the multiverse. The brothers' war between Urza and Mishra ends with the detonation of the Golgothian Silex in 63 AR. A consequence is the formation of the Shard of 12 Worlds, an interplanar aura that traps 12 planes within and prevents interplanar travel into or out of it. For nearly 3,000 years, Nicol Bolas is trapped outside his home plane. But that isn't so long a time for a creature that has now lived for 25,000 years. During this time, Nicol Bolas moves from plane to plane, extracting what information and power he can, setting up civilizations to worship and obey him, and destroying those who resist. It's during these journeys that Bolas learns of another creature like him, one that opposes his chaos and manipulation with order and structure. The Sphinx Planeswalker and Perun of Ravnica, Azor the Lawbringer. Although never coming in direct conflict, Azor and Bolas fight for control over many planes, and the Sphinx felt the corrupting power of the Elder Dragon as civilization after civilization fell to the depredations of Bolas. Sometime later, Ugin approaches Azor on an unnamed plane, extending an offer of cooperation as he seeks allies to confront his murderous brother. Azor needs little persuading. He refers to Bolas as the Destroyer, a plague on the multiverse, and the two planeswalkers contemplate how best to defeat such a powerful foe. They can't possibly hope to kill Bolas, and even if they succeed, he likely has plans to protect himself. But perhaps they can imprison him, trap him on a world, and prevent him from planeswalking, rendering his might useless. In 3179 AR, the two allies hatch a plan to create and power an artifact capable of trapping planeswalkers, an artifact later referred to as the Immortal Sun. Each has their part. Azor will sacrifice his own planeswalker spark in order to fuel the Immortal Sun. Ugin, meanwhile, will lure his brother to a specified location for them to spring their trap. After all, the Spirit Dragon is bait Bolas can't hope to resist. He'd want nothing more than ending his brother forever. And no better place than Tarkir, the plane of Ugin's soul, and one he would never jeopardize. All the more tantalizing for Bolas, who is nothing if not vindictive. The Sphinx Azor sits marooned on Ixalan, awaiting word from Ugin to activate the Immortal Sun and stifle the threat to the multiverse that is Bolas. For days that stretch into years, he waits, but sees nothing of Ugin. Something has gone terribly awry. Nicol Bolas, in his great wisdom and scrutiny, caught wind of a plan that could threaten him. He saw subtle hints and trails left by Azor on the planes the Sphinx subdued, that the Elder Dragon later conquered. More importantly, however, he learned of his twin's supposed resurrection. With Ugin free to travel the multiverse, Bolas can expect his opposition at every turn, and Nicol can't tolerate another being whose power is comparable to his own. As Bolas ruminates over his own plans for greater and greater power, he learns that his brother has returned to Tarkir, exposing both himself in the pathetic plane he holds so dearly. A fortuitous twist of fate that Bolas can destroy not just Ugin, but also the thing he loves most. He immediately pounces on the opportunity. But Nicol Bolas hasn't maintained his status by recklessly endangering himself, nor does he believe in mere chance. Bolas planeswalks to Tarkir, prepared to thwart whatever plans his twin has made. In the millennia since Ugin seeded the plane, Tarkir has grown into a world replete with dragons, graceful and deadly monstrosities that emerge fully formed from mystical maelstroms propagated by Ugin's essence that tear across the plane's surface. We see these storms in cards like Dragon Tempest and Fearsome Awakening. What's more, these dragons are themselves tied to their progenitor, and Ugin plans on using his advantage to overpower Bolas in the ensuing fight. As the spirit dragon hovers in the sky, a golden ball tears through the fabric of reality. From it emerges the twinned horns of the second sun and conqueror of worlds. Nicol Bolas has arrived on Tarkir. At this point in time, Nicol and Ugin have so much potential, so much power within them, and at their disposal that merely their presence is enough to pressure the foundations of Tarkir. In wild fury, Bolas launches a deadly onslaught on Ugin, who dodges, diverts, and nullifies as he deftly maneuvers through the sky. The twins lock themselves in an epic duel, a fight unmatched in the multiverse. With the knowledge of thousands of years and the power of pre-mending Elder Dragon planeswalkers, it's a wonder Tarkir didn't dissolve in the brothers' arcane melee. Flesh is scorched, scales are punctured, and lifeblood seeps from both the contestants. But as the fight progresses, Ugin sees an opportunity to unleash his hidden talent. He lets out a primal roar, mystically charged to call all the dragons of Tarkir. His brood responds to the telepathic message, and hundreds of Ugin's progeny descend upon the unsuspecting Bolas in a moment of triumph. But it isn't in Bolas's nature to be taken by surprise. Nicol foresaw his battle with Ugin, and sometime earlier traveled to Tarkir. He planted a seed of temptation and deceit in the mind of a particularly powerful human shaman who was capable of mentally dominating wild creatures. Yasova Dragonclaw was leader of the early Temur clan on Tarkir, wanderers that had long been at the mercy of the dangerous dragons patrolling the plane's skies. Bolas approached Yasova and granted her a vision of Tarkir's future, where dragons would no longer threaten her people, where the only thing left of them would be their bones, and the clans could rise up. This vision would only come true if she obeyed Bolas and aided him at the right time. The Elder Dragon leveraged Yasova's desires against her, and she joined his cause. So, as Ugin's dragons charged in on Bolas, Yasova unleashed a powerful command spell that instantly gripped the minds of Ugin's progeny. It was simple, direct, and unrelenting. Kill Ugin. A moment later, the dragons of Tarkir turn on their creator, and instead of thrashing Bolas, they bite, burn, gnash, and tear at the spirit dragon. It weakens Ugin and breaks his concentration long enough for Bolas to fly high in the sky, then deliver a crushing and final death blow. With a horrid thud, Ugin's body plummets to the earth, creating a massive chasm. The year is roughly 3280 AR. Ugin the Spirit Dragon is dead once more. His heart and that of Tarkir's cease beating. With a triumphant roar, Nicol Bolas leaves Tarkir to its fate, free from his brother's interference, and turns his sights once more to his home of Dominaria, now that the Shard of 12 Worlds is shattered. At this point in time, Nicol Bolas has gained so much power and has so much potential energy within him that he can't fully materialize on Dominaria without utterly destroying the plane. He's also become metaphysically tied to the temporal rift he created thousands of years prior in his duel with the Leviathan. In order to stabilize himself within Dominaria's reality, he must tether himself to the mana ley lines that course across the plane's surface. It so happens that there is a strong intersection of blue, red, and black ley lines on the island chain of Madara, mere miles from the still-standing Talon Gates and temporal rift he created. Bolas lashes himself to the surges of mana and enters Dominaria. But thousands of years have passed, and tales of his conquests or rule have been forgotten to time. He surveys a landscape where the people have forgotten to whom they owe allegiance and subservience. He's quick to correct their mistake, and a short time after his arrival usurps the title of king and goes on to create the Empire of Madara to further his own ambitions. For nearly 400 years, Bolas rules as God Emperor, often acting through his imperial magistrates and intermediaries while he retreats to his secluded imperial shrine to deliberate on his most pressing matters. From here, due to the time rift and increasingly fragile time stream, Bolas and his closest advisors have direct access to the spiritual meditation plane, and the Elder Dragon quickly transforms it into his own personal meditation realm. While he spends years developing machinations, pondering the truths of the multiverse, and manipulating all he can touch, a threat to his life, and more importantly his power, goes unnoticed and grows within the circle of his highest officials. As God Emperor, Bolas instated positions and titles for greedy and ambitious subjects to prove their worth by governing his empire. Chief among them were the imperial assassin Ramses Overdark, the general of the Kensu army Shishido Mayasi, and the imperial champion Tetsuo Umezawa. All men are ambitious, but Tetsuo is descendant from the Umezawa clan of Kamigawa and holds honor and duty above all else. He takes the position of champion because he believes he can not only help his people, but protect them from the wrath of the emperor. A strong martial artist, skilled swordsman, and talented spellcaster, Umezawa is a dangerous master of blue, black, and red mana with few equals. During his tenure, he spends a great deal of time in the meditation realm, sharpening his skills and learning its secrets. All of this will soon have devastating repercussions for the Elder Dragon. During the rebellion of the Ademi Isles from Bolas's rule, Tetsuo has a change of heart and realizes he can't maintain his honor while he works for a vile creature the likes of Bolas. The champion turns on his master in Ramses Overdark, whom he has a blood feud with, attacking the dragon's imperial shrine. Umezawa's skills prove too sharp for Ramses Overdark, and he slays the imperial assassin, taunting the God Emperor before slipping into the meditation realm. Enraged by the death of his regent and taking Umezawa's actions as a personal affront, Nicol Bolas leaves his physical body on Dominaria while chasing Tetsuo into the meditation realm with his spirit form. This proves a fatal mistake and part of an elaborate trap set forth by Umezawa, for in his haste, Bolas leaves his physical body unprotected. Umezawa casts a devastating meteor hammer spell, which obliterates the Imperial Shrine and crushes the Elder Dragon's body. Severed from his physical being, as well as his ties to Dominaria's vast stores of mana to fuel his spells, Nicol Bolas is significantly weakened. For the first time in his life, he no longer has the advantage, no longer has the element of surprise. He's been bested by a mere mortal and human. Tetsuo uses his mastery over the meditation plane's malleable existence to cleave the dragon's spirit. In a dazzling display of skill, feint and tact, Tetsuo Umezawa defeats Bolas, killing the Elder Dragon, who has survived nearly 30,000 years of plots to threaten his power.
That's wild. That's wild. He had too much dip on his chip and got destroyed by this guy. That's crazy.
The multiverse is at last free from the tyrannical reign of its most malevolent planeswalker. But unbeknownst to Umezawa, or any other being for that matter, a shred of Nicol Bolas' essence remains.
Oh?
A shadow trapped between physical and spiritual, tied to the time rift the dragon created millennia ago.
Oh, so this is his fallback if he ever gets
For nearly
killed?
1,000
Yeah,
years,
this dude's
the Elder
annoying.
Dragon's essence is trapped in the time rift, from 3600 AR to about 4500 AR. While Bolas remains in a sort of purgatory, the plane of Dominaria suffers a handful more powerful blows to the time stream as more time rifts emerge and grow across the plane's surface. As the time spiral crisis nears ahead, the time rift that Bolas' spirit is tied to expands, and allows the Planeswalker to finally manifest on the plane once more. But in a weakened state and without physical body, Bolas is capable only of materializing as a ghostly shade. He assumes the pseudonym of Sensei Ryu and oversees events that transpire on Madara. At this point, the time rifts have become so large that they begin fraying the very fabric of reality and drain Dominaria of its mana. Several Planeswalkers have gathered in an attempt to seal the rifts and heal the time stream, which is why the Chronomancer Teferi of Zhalfir and his companions emerge on Mandara. Sensing Planeswalker sparks among the travelers and believing that using one could bring him back from the brink, Bolas arranges for Teferi, Venser, and Radha to arrive near the Talon Gates, the nexus of his own personal time rift and the path back to life. Even in such a state, Nicol Bolas has enough power to use and magnify Venser's latent Planeswalker spark. He pulls a physical copy of himself from an alternate timeline within the rift and drags it into the present reality, merging it with his own essence. With a roar of vitality, Bolas unfurls his wings and emerges once more in all his splendor. This tale is told to us in the art and saga, The Eldest Reborn.
Crazy.
Realizing the threat Bolas poses, Teferi challenges the Elder Dragon to a duel to save the lives of his compatriots. Despite his vast knowledge of blue mana and mastery over time, Bolas's knowledge is vaster and his power greater. We see the depths of the Elder Dragon's skills play out as he easily evades, nullifies, or counteracts every spell the Temporal Archmage throws at him. Bolas then uses his touch to effortlessly shatter the mind of the Planeswalker and
Dang.
rip his body to pieces. As this is a time where Planeswalkers have the ability to shapeshift and alter their physical essence, Teferi is not yet killed, but he is dying. The mage from Zhalfir explains to Bolas their mission, that the time rifts grow more threatening, and if they aren't closed, could destroy the entire multiverse. Bolas surveys the landscape and grudgingly admits that Teferi is right, but he has unfinished business with the line of Tetsuo Umezawa for what his champion did. He vows terrible vengeance on the blood of Umezawa and all that aided him before planeswalking to Kamigawa. The Elder Dragon arrives on the plane of Kami and proceeds to burn down the Honden of Night's Reach and turn the spirit's followers against her. After all, she was responsible for casting Tetsuo's ancestor, Toshiro, out of Kamigawa and onto Dominaria. He cripples the Myojin of Night's Reach before planeswalking once more to Dominaria. Shortly after returning to Madara, Bolas is ambushed and confronted by another planeswalker, but one whose ambitions and desires are far more devious than Teferi's. Leshrac, the Walker of Night, has immense power, but he wants more. He's already absorbed the putrefying abilities of Phage from Jeska, and he's recently received the Mask of Night's Reach from the Myojin, an artifact imbued with terrible potential. But he hopes of killing the Elder Dragon Planeswalker and absorbing his essence to become the most supreme being in the multiverse. Leshrac lashes out at Bolas in an all-out attack to destroy the newly reborn dragon, and surprisingly, he appears to be winning. Their duel takes them across various planes, and on each one the Walker of Night uses Phage's touch to corrode Bolas's body. Limbs, scales, organs slough off of the dragon as he's beaten back at every turn. The duel takes the two planeswalkers back to the Talon Gates, where Leshrac prepares a killing strike. But nothing is as it seems. Out of nowhere, Nicol impales Leshrac with his skeletal tail. He then reveals that he possesses the true Mask of Night's Reach, which he pilfered from the Myojin after defeating her. Bolas had planned for such an attack on his person and prepared accordingly. He then instantly regenerates his deteriorating body, and as shock sweeps over Leshrac, Bolas imprisons the planeswalker within the mask. It's been mere hours since his resurrection, but Bolas has already confronted and soundly defeated two legendary planeswalkers through superior knowledge, guile, and deceit. Bolas turns his attention back to Teferi, who has at this time managed to heal himself, and admits his responsibility
Yo,
in
this
causing the
man
time rift at the Talon Gates.
taking L's. He thought
The
he
Elder
was
Dragon
so
is no
strong.
fool and understands the threat posed by allowing the rifts to propagate. He uses the Mask of Night's Reach, sacrificing Leshrac and his Planeswalker Spark to seal the Talon Gate time rift.
Dang.
With his part complete, and no guarantee that the remaining rifts will be closed, Nicol Bolas claims that he's prepared to preserve himself in the eventual collapse of the multiverse, before blinking out of existence and traveling to the far-flung plane of Amonkhet. The year is roughly 4500 AR. The ancient Egyptian-inspired plane of Amonkhet is a desolate world with unending sandstorms, brutal heat from the rays of twin suns, and a peculiar curse that fills the dead with life as they are doomed to wander until all that remains are their bones. Bolas's interest in the plane comes from its large reserves of a metallic blue substance called Lazotep, and how well it interacts with the magic of necromancy. With the imminent collapse of the multiverse and death of the planes, perhaps Bolas believes he can eternally sustain his life by unlocking the secrets of Lazotep. But Amonkhet is a world already populated with civilization, and unfortunately for its people, they do not know the splendor of the Forever Serpent. Immediately after arriving on the plane, Nicol Bolas uses his pre-mending planeswalker powers to scour Amonkhet and begin anew. He massacres all people older than infants, mentally dominates the gods that reside there to worship him and enact his will, and corrupts the angels of the plane.
All right. So, just so y'all know what this guy did. So in Magic the Gathering, there are gods, and in their gods, welcome to the chat. We're listening to Magic the Gathering lore of Nicol Bolas. So in Magic the Gathering, the way it works is gods exist based on devotion and being praised. So the more people believe in you, excuse me, the more powerful you are as a god, the more you're able to go up. And this gets very important because later on there's something that happens and you're like, oh my God, what? It's crazy. Uh, the gods are is based on their devotion. So all the people who believe in the gods uh, influence the gods. So if you have like a whole bunch of people who believe in you that are happy, you're going to have a better mood. You're going to be joyful. If you got a whole bunch of angry people who believe in you, that also impacts the god as well. And in this world, you can technically have a person become that of a god as well. I want to say that Gideon's a human, but because of the belief of the people, it ends up increasing his abilities and making him more god-like. He doesn't become a full god, but god-like. So Nicol Bolas, what he does is he finds this place which is pretty much Egypt in its own plane, in its own right. And it has all the gods inside of it. And what he does is he takes over the mind of the people. One, he kills all the old people. Then he takes control of the mind of the rest of the people who are alive, thus making it easier for him to murk off all the gods or mind control them. Because remember, I said the mental state or the people feel also impact the god as well. So this guy literally took over the whole plane and became a new god in his space. All right, we are going to finish up this last bit, and then we're going to have a part two of this tomorrow.
Transforming them into his likeness and instilling subservience within them. In effect, he destroys the history of the plane and rewrites it in his image, styling himself as the god pharaoh of Amonkhet and altering the fabric of reality to suit his needs. All aspects of life from this point on are devoted wholly to his worship and his whims.
Like all the art in the space changes
Bolas,
because of
an
him.
unforeseen and uncounterable force begins on Dominaria and sweeps across the entire
Oh
multiverse,
yeah, it's getting juicy.
altering the very nature of the Planeswalker Spark. In 4500 AR, the Planeswalker Jeska sacrifices herself to seal the final time rift, which sets off a cascade of events referred to as the Great Mending. as Planeswalker's powers were responsible for destroying the fabric of the multiverse. The mending ensures such anomalies or paradoxes will never happen again by severing Planeswalkers from their godlike powers, their ability to shape reality and existence at a whim. The mending
Which
shakes
I
the
want to say
multiverse and rolls over Bolas in an event that is depicted in the art and flavor text of 3 different cards, each portraying him on Amonkhet during the mending. First is Apex of Power, where we see Bolas at the height of his pre-mending powers, leveling the plane and shaping it to his will. The flavor text
Okay, he's gonna read the flavor text because I was like, I'm gonna read it for you if he doesn't read the flavor text.
reads, "As I desire, so it shall be." Next is the card Fraying Omnipotence, that shows the Great Mending destroying his vast reserves of power and abilities. The Great Mending that healed the multiverse also unraveled the threads of Nicol Bolas's power. Finally, the ever-scheming Bolas develops a plan for regaining his lost power in patient rebuilding, where we can see the plane of Amonkhet being rebuilt to suit Bolas's needs. Nicol Bolas would not rest until he was restored to his former glory. A super cool bit of flavor is that all 3 of these cards mirror the 3 colors of mana Nicol Bolas is master over. The Second Son, the God Emperor of Madara and God Pharaoh of Amonkhet, is now at the weakest he's been in perhaps thousands of years. But he still has his unmatched intellect, his innate touch, and the strength of an elder dragon. The loss of his pre-mending powers is a crushing blow to a creature that has spent millennia accruing them, and who measures all things in their value of potential. And it's his obsession with regaining his vast reserves of energy that will go on to dominate Nicol Bolas's actions for decades to come, as he once more seeks to be the ultimate power in the multiverse.
All right, so pretty much the same thing that he did because he wanted to seal one of the rifts. So he sealed one of the rifts by killing another planeswalker, and that worked. That was good. But there were still other rifts, but this one only benefited him. So one of the other planeswalkers sacrificed themselves. If you haven't guessed yet, these planeswalker sparks that are within them are super powerful. Like if they're able to pull the energy out of those things, they could literally level a field. Um, so this girl, she uses hers to seal the last rift. And you know what? I want to say that those rifts either started from Ugin when he had the one guy go from Takar and resurrect him the first time, or it was from the Brothers' War when they did like this whole thing. And we'll listen to the Brothers' War because they mention it twice, and I want you all to understand what's going on there. But like I said, the story of Magic the Gathering is in depth. It goes very wide. It's a lot that goes on with it, and if you ever played the game, you'll understand what certain cards are and how they function. Because the way they describe the characters are directly correlated to the cards. And that's a cool thing with Magic the Gathering is every time they come out with a new set, the story and the characters in the story impact the game itself as well. So yeah, with that, though, we've met our timer spot. If you're following or watching on YouTube, go ahead and leave a like and a follow just so you can finish up the remainder of this with us tomorrow. Um, I'm gonna turn on my bot to play out some outro music, but I really appreciate everybody joining me for another session. You could be anywhere else, but you're here with me right now, and I really appreciate it. Still confusing? What part is confusing? Is it all the names of the places? If there's the names of the places, it's cool. There's a lot of places. They just name drop things and just like, yeah, they went to this place, they did this, they went to this place. I get it. I can give you the spark notes though. All of it? Okay. So, here's the spark notes. In the beginning, you had the plane of Dominaria. Remember that name, Dominaria, because we constantly go there. And it was chilling there. It was relaxing. Then Ur Dragon, which is the mother or father of all dragons. It's pretty much the dragon creator. Yeah, it's easier to do that. Make up names that you could remember. So the Ur Dragon, uh, whenever it flies, storms are created, and from these storms, dragon eggs are released, and this is how we got all of our original dragons. And they name drop a lot of dragons. You gotta add faces to each thing. Okay. How about this? How about this? In tomorrow's session, I'll pull up the pictures for things just so you can see what they look like. Cause it's like, I get that. I get that. Like, I gotta like pull something up for you. So, Ugin. Yeah, I'll have to like. Wait a minute. I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. Copy the image. Over here. They're actually, I think, working on a series. To be honest. All right. So this is what Ugin looks like. And this is what Nicobolus looks like. So it'll at least give you a little bit of visuals of what the two different dragons look like. And I think what I could do is I could do a recap of it tomorrow while we like do this. I think that'll help out. Me doing a recap with the cards, because all these pictures, all these names correlate to cards, and it's easier to see that. Yeah, it's way easier to see it. I'm done. I can't deal. So, yeah, that's all I'll do. I'll do a recap tomorrow with the video, like full screened, and we'll do like the first like 10 minutes of the stream just jumping through so you can see what each step of it looks like, who Ugin looks like, what his body looks like when he dies, and all that jazz. Because this video, actually, there you go. So this is a link to the actual page that we're watching from. We watched all the way up to 47. So it's luckily like separated into different areas. So like you can like skip through this and see like the different card arts and what have you. But we'll do a walkthrough tomorrow. Merlin has his name as a skin? Oh? Hold on. I see. Oh man, I should have known that they did the Smite Magic the Gathering blend. I see what you're talking about. I just clicked on it online. But yeah, we'll do like a whole run through of that. Like I said, tomorrow we'll do like a recap, Spark Noted, showing like the images aside while I explain the story in a Spark Note form so that we can continue forward. And I might try to figure out a format where I can still show the stream while simultaneously showing, excuse me, the video larger. I know, right? Discord crashed on me. Oh, perfect. So pretty much the characters that I'm doing are also in Smite as skins. So we out here. All right. But I'm gonna end the stream here. Hope everybody has a good night. Stretch, drink water. No, I didn't do the dragon. I did. I'm working on Jace right now. Chandra, from the image you sent me, the first one is the bottom two characters that I'm doing. The red one and the blue one, and then the girl in the purple. And then on the second one, I'm doing the girl in the green. On the left hand side. That's right above the Smite logo. Okay. But yeah. We out here. Dang, I wish I knew they did that. I would have actually jumped back into Smite to get these skins. Oh wells. But yeah. Like I said, I'll catch you all on the flip side. You can be anywhere else, but you're here with me right now. I really appreciate that. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and give me a like, a follow if you want to continue with this ride that we're doing. There are so many other Planeswalkers that I'm going to have to do. Tomorrow will be part 2 of Bolas, and then Friday we'll go back to jamming some music. That way I'm giving you a little break. And then next week, we're going to listen to Chandra's lore. So, until next time, as always, I hope you all have a good night. Hero, out.